Hello, I'm Max from 7th Memory, and welcome back to Devlog number 7. Over the last 2 weeks, once again, we've made a lot of progress, and I'm really excited to talk today about one of our battle systems, specifically the JRPG style battle system. But before we get into that, I'll do a quick recap of some of the other things I did these last 2 weeks. As always, there were a lot of bug fixes to do, and I also made a lot of new art that I'll put up on the screen here. As you can see, we've started work on making some new tree assets, I've updated some of the icons, and worked on some of the tile set stuff. In addition, we've also started filling out our own cast of enemies, and I'll show a lot of those here. Right now, we have about half of the cast done for the random encounters you'll find in the forest and fort, and I'm pretty happy with how they came out. I'll also show the kind of quote-unquote concept art I did for these, so you can get a little bit of a comparison. In addition, from the last time I talked to you, I started work on some of the menus in the overworld, such as the party menu, the item menu, and equip menu. And one of the other things I started working on was that enemies in the overworld can now wander and pathfind to you. Now, to get into our JRPG style battle system, early on we decided that a state machine would be a lot better for this than what we were previously doing. And I recommend for JRPG systems in general where there's turns, using a state machine makes it a lot easier and simpler to manage. It is a great fit because a lot of JRPG systems don't have a dependency on time. So some of the main states of our battle system were the player select state, the enemy select state, the party select state, running the actions of everybody in the battle, and dodging for the party. And all of these can have dialogue in between them. So the first main state you enter in battle is the player select state. And you have 4 different actions here: fight, defend, item, or skill. And we wanted this to match the kind of UI in the overworld, that way it doesn't seem too alien or unfamiliar to the player. The only difference is that the interact button in the overworld has been replaced with defend. And when you select an option, it parses the selection, parses the item or skill depending on if you chose one of those options, and it determines how many party members or enemies you select based on what action you took. In this state, you can also swap to another party member that can act before you, or cancel previous selections. This makes it easier to order events how you would like in battle, and it gives a little bit more strategy. Now, after selecting any action, the state will transition into the enemy select state. If there are any enemies to select based on the action you took, that happens here, and it's pretty simple. We have a pointing finger indicating what enemy selected, and if there are multiple enemies to select, when you select one enemy, then you'll automatically be prompted to select another, and you'll be able to see which ones you still selected. If the amount of enemies to select is greater than or equal to the amount of enemies, all of them are automatically selected. After the enemy select state, if there's no enemies to select or you finish selecting your enemies, then you'll transition to the party select state, and this is where you select party members for an action. It works pretty similar to selecting enemies, except the only difference is that you're mostly menuing with the icons on the bottom. After you finish selecting all the party members for an action, or if there are none to select, then the game assembles the action. An action is a dictionary containing a few keys. For instance, the origin, what character or enemy is doing this action. Targets, which is an array of characters or enemies that is affected. Properties, which determines what actually happens, what effects are added to players, what damage is dealt, how accurate is the attack, and any other attributes we might want to add. And the last key is flavor text. What should the text say when an enemy takes an action? After all party members have acted, then we transition into the run action state, and on our way there, we run all of the enemy AI and have their actions also queued up. While in the run action state, first we always check for any dialogue that's been queued up, and we make sure to display that before doing anything else. If there's no dialogue queued up, then we can process the next action. And we call a function in the parent called process action, which applies the effects of actions, such as rolling for effects, rolling for accuracy, applying damage and healing, or any other attributes that we might want to add. However, if the party is being attacked, then we enter the state of party dodge. And in this state, the parent initializes all of the UI for each party member being attacked. And in this state, there will be 2 main areas. The green area is the half damage area, and the yellow area is the perfect dodge area. All of the party members have a little bar moving back and forth at a different speed, and when you press the confirm button, all of the markers will stop, and depending on where they land, each party member will either take full damage, take half damage, or perfectly dodge the attack at the same time. Originally, we only had a perfect dodge area. However, the more we kept playing and working on the game, it felt more and more that dodging was too easy, especially if you were one party member, so we decided to make it more challenging, but not too much more punishing. In addition, some effects like defending might even change the areas on the screen, or maybe not even allow you to get a perfect dodge, meaning that we can play a lot with this system. The last main state is the dialogue state, which which mostly is just checked and then any queued up dialogue is played before progressing to the next stage. It's pretty simple. There's a main loop that just checks if there's any dialogue. If there is, we play the dialogue, change our state to the dialogue, and then after the dialogue's done, we check if there's any more, and then just continue running the state. Lastly, our battle system itself is a state machine, but there's only really two states that we have. One state just lets us know that we are battling, then the other state's the result state, which makes all the UI go away and then just displays the results of the battle. Currently, battles can give you drops and gold, which are added to the inventory of the player. So that's the main overview of our JRPG style battle system. I put it together in about a week, which isn't too bad, and working with a state machine makes it a lot easier. As always, there's still a lot of work to be done. I still have to work on the dialogue system a little bit more and add some more features. We can also start building out maps, which is going to be really cool. I also got to make some more overworld enemy sprites for all the different enemies that we have now, and one of the things we also want to do is smooth out the overworld enemy movement. Some last few things that we eventually want to get to are making the enemies kind of like pause for a second when they notice you and then they start chasing, and making the battle intro a little bit less jarring, and fixing up some enemy art and making up some more character designs. All of this is going into working on the vertical slice of our game, which will contain this first chapter that we've planned out so far. Olive will have a video next week talking about some more of the progress we've made, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.